This is Johnny Nelson and you're watching Sporting Icons.
So to follow on from the previous video there with Carl Froch, of course he went in on Anthony Joshua for whatever reason that he does. And it's all over the Sun putting out a top 10 pound for pound British fighters of the last 30 years. Absolute joke. That's what you're seeing on the screen right now. That's what the Sun put out. Okay, so that's not my list. That's what the Sun put out. Absolutely abysmal. Really is. Personally, as I said in that previous video, if any fighter is currently active, you cannot be putting them on that list. You can't. You have to wait until their career is finished and then make a judgment overall. Okay, just because Anthony Tyson Fury's got like a lot of hype right now doesn't mean that they're a top 10. That's my belief anyway. And again, it shouldn't even be pound for pound. So on my top 10, I don't foresee any of you agreeing with my top 10. Not at all. Which is why I don't really like doing them, because some people get quite temperamental if you don't have the same top 10. Truth is, nobody will have the same top 10. If you all closed your eyes and put down your top 10 and looked up everybody else's comments, you won't even get them close. I'm telling you right now. So my top 10 will be all fighters that are retired. It's within the last 30-year period, as that was a criteria for the Sun. And it's not always just based on me as to who I like. If I was judging by who my favourites were, this list would be totally different. And again, if it was done on all-time British greats, again, this list will be different. But this is the last 30 years of retired fighters. So again, I'll give some honourable mentions as well as to who I considered putting on the list. So here is my top 10. Number 1, Joe Calzaghe. 2, Lennox Lewis. 3, Ricky Hatton. 4, Chris Eubank Sr. 5, Carl Froch. 6, Nigel Ben. 7, Prince Nassim Hamed. 8, Michael Watson. 9, Frank Bruno. 10, Johnny Nelson. A few eyebrows raised right there, right? With some of the names that I put on there. Now, some honourable names that I thought about putting in there. I mean, if Amir Khan was retired right now, I think I'd probably seriously consider putting him in the top 10 of the last 30 years. Clinton Woods, I thought about Barry McGuigan, but he was 31 years ago, so I did think about just sneaking him in there, but I didn't. Junior Witter, Harold Graham, dare we say the likes of James DeGale and George Groves? Maybe David Hay? Maybe. Anyway, my top 10, I'm not going to go too deep into why I chose them. I mean, it should be pretty self-explanatory for those of you who know. But I had to put Joe Calzaghe in there because he's got an excellent resume, albeit he did do it a bit later on in his career toward the end. He did go through quite some time of not having the greatest fighters on his resume, but still, some very good ones like Robin Reed. Robin Reed was in his prime when he fought Joe Calzaghe. Some people thought that Robin Reed was unlucky in that fight. Is what it is. He's got the likes of Chris Eubank Sr. on his resume. Jeff Lacey at the time. You've got Mikhail Kessler on there. You've got Roy Jones Jr., Bernard Hopkins, all those kind of ones as well. Lennox Lewis defeated every man he's ever faced. He got 2 losses and a draw. He avenged both of those, although I do believe that draw he won. Ricky Hatton again. Again, a lot of this is based on popularity as well, not just what they've done in the ring. But Ricky Hatton, he had an absolute army of fans, especially from the Manchester area. And, of course, being world champion, great win over Costa Zoo, come up short against Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. I do feel, though, that he didn't get a fair rub of the green when he fought Floyd Mayweather with that damn overly biased referee. But still, I think Ricky Hatton, when you look at his career, absolute legend. Chris Eubank Sr. as well. Fantastic career. He wasn't really one of my favourite fighters at the time. I thought he was arrogant. But again, I was a bit too young to understand what it was that he was doing, where he was just hyping his own name. It was very, very ahead of his curve, he really was. And again, fought so many great fighters. Carl Froch, again, world champion, got 2 losses on his resume. He did avenge that one of those against Mikhail Kessler. But of course, the Andre Ward one. No shame in losing to Andre Ward, right? He does have some pretty good wins. Some of them a bit overhyped in my opinion, but some of them underrated in my opinion as well. But for me, Carl Froch is in the top 10 of British greats of the last 30 years. Same on Nigel Ben. Don't need to talk too much about Nigel Ben, the Dark Destroyer. Again, fought virtually everybody that he could possibly fight. Did come up short against Chris Eubank Sr. Got a draw with Chris Eubank Sr., which I thought that he won that fight. I have to be brutally honest. He come up short against Michael Watson, which is why I put Michael Watson on that list as well. And the fact that Michael Watson, he had 2 fights with Chris Eubank Sr. And especially in the rematch when things went really, really badly wrong at the end there, which is very, very unfortunate for him. But he was winning that fight quite comfortably. So how could you not put Michael Watson on there? While he may not have achieved a lot of the things that a lot of these guys have, in my opinion, I think Michael Watson is a worthy contender. Prince Naseem Hamed. Come on now. I mean, his resume not the greatest, but it's just his whole persona. He got the British public buying in to his hype. It was absolutely fantastic. So while he was world champion, I felt that he bailed out of boxing a bit too soon. But again, if it's true what I heard about his hands, then maybe fair enough. But it's his whole persona, his whole demeanour, the way he sold himself. And he was cocky as hell. Some people really, really hated him. Some really, really loved him. You didn't really find too many people in between with Prince Naseem Hamed, but a legend of British boxing, no doubt. Frank Bruno, of course, his biggest win was against Oliver McCall, where he finally became WBC World Heavyweight Champion. But with Frank Bruno as well, virtually the whole British public were watching boxing because of Frank Bruno. Sure, he came up short a couple of times, but he showed that he will fight anybody. I mean, for crying out loud, he went over and fought Mike Tyson twice. Come on now. Johnny Nelson. I know a lot of people will judge it because they don't like Johnny Nelson. They don't like his thoughts on Sky Sports as a pundit. For me, I like Johnny Nelson, but if you don't, you don't. But I think while his fighting career didn't start off the best, in fact, it was probably one of the worst starts that any boxer could have as a professional, but he kind of soon adapted. And while people weren't really watching him too much back then, because we here in the UK, for whatever reason, we've never really bought into the cruiserweight division, but it is what it is. For me, I thought that Johnny Nelson, very, very underrated fighter, even though he was world champion for the damn longest time for the WBO. Okay, at the time, the WBO, was it really one of the biggest sanctioning bodies out there? Not really. But I think that Johnny Nelson done fantastic. I mean, European champion, I think twice was it, something like that, British champion as well. So, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, I put him in the top 10. I said other people as well. I mean, you could probably argue about David Haye going in there. Of course, he was unified cruiserweight champion. And of course, he did become heavyweight world champion. So again, it's a very, very fair shout if anybody wants to say. As I said, I think Amir Khan, if he were to retire right now, I'll probably pop him up in there, along with the likes of Barry McGuigan, if I could, but again, last 30 years, or Clinton Woods and a few others. So that's my thoughts. You drop me yours. Click thumbs up, subscribe if you like. Catch you all in the next video.